is up, everybody? Welcome to Firearms and Fellowship for the Monday night Firearms Chat. We got a wonderful show for you tonight. I am going to be joined by Roy Marcot, historian and author, and Nibs from Walnut and Steel. Let me bring in Roy. Roy, welcome.
Good to be here tonight.
It's so good to see you. I'm glad to have you on here. Been looking forward to having this chat for a while. All right, let me bring in Nibs. Nibs from Walnut and Steel. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Excellent, excellent. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Roy.
Hi, Nibs.
Nibs, what were you up to today?
Oh, working. I just had doing another project, starting another project. I work in the radio communications field, so never a dull moment.
Right. Good. Well,
I did do a video out in my garage just before I came in. So.
Oh, did you shooting an air gun? Right on. What kind of air gun were you shooting tonight?
I was just doing a mail call. It was got a couple suppressors and a couple new knives. We'll show you those later. But a fellow that I met on YouTube, he 3D prints suppressors for air guns.
Okay.
When he comes up with new stuff, he sends them over for me to test them out. It's called Red Corn Outdoors.
Yeah. So Roy, funny story. This evening, while I was setting up for the live stream, I went into an artificial intelligence grok over on Twitter, and I asked it to write out a bio and a book list for you. And let me read this first response that it gave me.
I'm in trouble now.
It was kind of funny. First line is Roy Marcot, born circa. I won't say the date for you. The exact date born is unavailable. Died January 30th, 2015.
Oh, what a shame. My life ended then, but what can I say? I came to this show.
Whatever taxes you've been paying for the past 10 years, I think you deserve a refund. Yeah, that was kind of funny. I had to correct the AI. I said, Roy Marcot has not passed. And it said, well, my records indicate this. And I said, well, I just got off the phone with him.
I love it. Okay. Good way to start.
But just for people who are not familiar with you, Roy's an outstanding historian and prolific author. I want to read off some of the books that you have written. Spencer, Repeating Rifles, Civil War Chief of Sharpshooters, Hiram Berdan, Military Commander and Firearms Inventor, Remington, America's Oldest Gunmaker, The History of Remington Firearms, The History of one of the world's most famous gun makers, Sharpes Firearms Series, which is a 4-volume series, Colt Brevet Revolvers, and my favorite, the Remington 22 Rimfire book, which I received from you personally when we were in Vegas. So I really enjoyed reading that book, and I was glad to get it from you. Let's see. They listed off a couple other things. Would you like to hear what the AI had to say about you, Roy?
Yeah, sure. As long as I'm alive now, I'll be glad to.
Yeah, it's all uphill, right? Let's see. Archival access. It says you were one of the first to gain full access to Remington's historical records, which we've discussed in the interview that I did with you when we were in Vegas. So if anybody's interested in that, go check out that interview. It's a 2-part series. And
what was that? Archival what?
Yeah, the Remington archives. You want to touch on that just briefly, Roy?
Sure. If I have about an hour and a half, I'll be glad to. Nibs, I started my work with Remington about
You're really low, Roy.
again.
You're really low. Your voice.
You
I don't know
say
if your mic is too far away or.
Jeremy, can you help with that?
Yeah, I think you'll just have to speak up a little bit, Roy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do my best. I
That's
started
a
my
little
work
better.
with Remington by going to the Remington plant as early as 1985, and every year myself and a few other Remington historians would go there, and we were told at that time that the Remington records just don't exist. The company was owned by DuPont at that time, and
Yeah.
and DuPont, I later found out, literally said to Remington management, "Your job is to make guns and sell guns and put money in the bank, and anything else we don't want your people and production people to waste their time with." And what's unfortunate is that historians also fell in that category, that they didn't want us to waste their time with us. But it happened to be in 1991, after I had been going there then for about 5, 6 years. The plant manager, John Winsky, came down. We were working in the museum, and he said, "I've seen you boys here before. What you doing?" And I mentioned I was working on Remington rolling block firearms and such. And I said to him, "It's just a shame, that the records, no longer exist." And and he said, "You've been coming here for 5, 6 years?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "I'm going to give you a treat." He said, I'm going to I'm going to take a security and open up an area that you can look at. And you can have 1 hour looking at our records, 1 hour only. But if anyone comes knocking on our door and says they want to see the Remington records, then I'll know you told them. I don't want you to tell anyone. This is literally, he said, is a room that doesn't exist. Well, we went on that tour, 1 hour, and we got to an area that had been closed off. It was a triple security locked, where no plant manager, no plant people, or no one was allowed in. And we saw a room that was maybe 1,000 square feet room, and it was festooned with file cabinets, map cases, and in the very, very back was a pile of papers on the floor. Oh, I see you're putting them up now. That's great. It looked just like this, and the records literally were piled up like this. Well, we came back and said goodbye to Mr. Winsky, and I wrote him a letter. Remember, this is 1991, before I couldn't send him any emails because it didn't exist yet.
Yep.
So I wrote him a letter, and it said, "Mr. Winsky," I said, "if you will permit me to put together a team of vetted Remington historians, each with knowledge of a different era of the Remington company," he said, "we will come back at least once or twice a year and spend a week and organize and protect the records that we have just seen." The picture you see there shows the three of us that were there that day. That's Jay Lewis on the left and Slim Kohler on the right, and a young me in the center.
Handsome fella.
Thank you. It was taken only a week ago. No, it really was. But to make a long, wonderful story shorter, he allowed us to put together a team and allowed us to go back there, and we work there every year, sometimes twice a year, but always at a week at a time, with up between 10 and 14 historians went there to work. And we were told we can copy anything we want. Besides protecting the records and putting them in categories, we're allowed to copy anything we want. And so over the years, we worked there from 1991 through the year 2020, every year. And the rule for everybody, each one of those 14 or 10 people, was if you find something that you like and copy. You make a copy for yourself and you make a copy for Roy's pile. And Roy's pile became the Remington Society archival material. And when we last looked at the material, which were in two very large storage lockers, it was 140 linear feet of material. Okay,
Wow.
as you said earlier, this is on a much longer a podcast that you had done, and people, if they're interested, can go and learn a lot more. But that's the short version, Jeremy, of the story.
Well, and just to clarify, Roy, for when you're talking about linear feet, that's that many feet of reams of paper stacked,
Yes,
120 feet high.
yeah,
That's
a ream of paper is something like 400 pages. That's about 4 inches of the 140 linear feet. And so
yeah.
it includes not only material that we captured there, but material that was captured in various museums, study collections, and libraries and such over all those years. It includes uh, production records, factory records from Remington, and also any related company to Remington, like DuPont, Chamberlain Trap, Peters Ammunition. It covers ammunition, firearms, and all the myriad number of things that wonderful company did over 216 years.
Yeah, the number of things that Remington made is just mind-boggling. I mean, from typewriters to bicycles to pins to knives. I mean, you name it, they had their hands in it. So yeah, thanks for kind of summarizing that. It's a really important project that Remington Society of America is doing, and it's something that you started, and it's wonderful that those records are going to be saved, because otherwise they would have ended up in a trash heap somewhere, and would have been good to nobody. Yeah, if anybody's interested, go check out RemingtonSociety.org. It's a great organization. A lot of knowledgeable guys over there. They put out a quarterly journal, so you get 4 issues a year. It's a wonderful journal, nice color pages, gloss photos, and excellent articles. It's $50 for the first year, and then $45 each year after. So yeah, go check out RemingtonSociety.org. If you're a Remington guy, you need to be a part of that organization for sure. But yeah, let me jump into the chat here real quick. We've got some people piling in. I just want to say hello to everybody and thank you for joining us tonight. Roy is going to talk about an upcoming project on the front end of this program tonight, and then after that we'll jump in and really dig into the comments and talk some guns with you guys. I know Nibs has got some stuff to talk about, and I do as well. But yeah, put the comments in. We're going to read them. We'll put them up on the screen as we go, and as we see fit, we'll kind of pause and talk about those. Yeah, Liberty's Last Son. What's everybody's favorite 22? We'll definitely get into that in a little bit this evening, because that's a great conversation, and it actually ties into a video that I'm going to talk about this evening. And we do have a Remington guy in the house helping, man. He says Remington 541T. That is a good one for sure. Got a couple more here. Nibs, that one's for you, bud.
Yes.
Okay.
Model 6M does have the same seal as the 6G.
All right.
And the Model 10.
Okay. Southern Rifles is 22 mag and 882. Yep. And okay, TDK Outdoors. I'm happy to be a recent new member of RSA. Awesome, buddy. We're glad to have you. Glad to have you. Okay. Roy, you want to jump into your Sharp stuff?
Sure. I spent the last few minutes talking about the last 35 years or more of me working with Remington Records and working with the Remington Society of America. But it was 14 years ago when two leaders of the Sharps Collectors Association took me and took my good friend Ron Paxton aside and said, "We really like what you've done in the past with all the books you've done on Remington." And they said that, let's go to the first slide there. And
Okay.
they they said at that time that the only really good book on Sharps firearms was a good book that was written by Frank Sellers. And Frank Sellers, you see him sitting there with a Sharps book in front of him too. And his book is about 350 pages. It was done 40 years prior,
Hmm.
and was the only book, really, a good, excellent book that you could rely upon. And so they came to Ron and I and said, we would really like you to redo the Sharps book and improve it. And with Ron's wonderful photography, we'd like you to go ahead and do that. We can go to the next page, and you can see a picture of that's Frank's book, and many of you may have it on your shelves, and it's in black and white and 350 pages. Really, it's a good book for the time. Well, Ron and I looked at it and the project, and we said we would take it on as a project, but it probably will be a lot more than the one volume that you really want. And they said, please go ahead, go ahead. Well, at that time, two important people stepped forward to help us. One was a doctor named Dick Lebowski from Philadelphia. And Dick Lebowski got the original records and was a caretaker of those. We go to the next picture, Jeremy. Okay. The original records were first looked at by DeWitt Bailey, and DeWitt passed only about 6, 8 months ago, but he worked for several years on the original records back in the late 50s and throughout the 1960s, and worked on the records. And we go to the next picture then. This all came, okay? And that's a portion of what the original records look like. And you can see that many of them are old ledgers, and ledgers for orders, for sales, ledgers of employees that work there, but they're the original records of the Sharps company. And we go to the next picture, and they were caretaken by they were cared by DeWitt first, and then Bill Peace, and then Dr. Bob Moore, and then by Dick Lebowski, and have only those records you just saw are only recently acquired by Dwayne Johnson and his daughter Tisha, who are now lettering guns just the way the others had done as well. Well, it was Dick Lebowski who stepped forward and said, Roy, if you and Ron are going to do this work, I want you to have full access to the historical records that I've got. And he gave us unfettered access. And we went back there over the years, and that started 14 years ago. We went back there for a week at a time with Ron and I both taking digital pictures of pages out of the records and all to help us in our endeavor, in our work. So the original thought that it was going to be one volume, then we thought, oh boy, we have an awful lot. Then stepped forward David Carter. David, who lives in Boulder, Colorado, has the largest and finest collection of Sharps firearms ever assembled. At last count, he has almost 500 different Sharps firearms. He stepped forward and said, I will help you. You have full access to all of my guns, all of my material that I have. So between Dick Lebowski and then David, Ron and I had our work cut out for us. Well, I'm going to skip a lot because a lot happened in 14 years. But for the friends who are watching now, those of you who are Sharps collectors know that the end result was 4 volumes, not one book. And each volume is about 450 pages. It's a large format, like you see here. This was the first volume. There's the second volume, and next there'll be up the third volume. There we go. That's third volume, and then the fourth volume there too. And we can leave this up for a few minutes, Jeremy. So each it measures 12 by 10, so it's oversized, so that when we have firearms, long arms on the page, a great deal of detail can shown when it's not in portrait size but in landscape. And the wonderful, wonderful photography by Ron Paxton. And in fact, over the years, because I'm the primary researcher and author of the book, I've often said that Ron's photos make my words look good. It's
Yeah.
really true. You know, my words would go to obscurity except for Ron's wonderful pictures that bring people to the books. And
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Roy, because I was going to mention that Ron's photos are just absolutely amazing. He does such a good job with them.
He's among the best. And realize that when Ron takes photos, he's not taking them in a photo lab where you have your original your light setup and all. Everything he does is got to be air mobile, because he and I have traveled either by car or by airplane or a jet to many places throughout the United States. So he does all of that with a portable setup. It's just incredible. We were joined after the first book that came out. We were joined by yet another person when Ed Marin joined us, and so the three of us really, we're talking about three people who have made this not just a job, because when you think of a job, you show up at work at 8 o'clock in the morning and maybe you leave by 5. And we show up at 7 o'clock in the morning in our home or wherever we're traveling, and maybe our day is over at 10. And it's not, I'm not saying poor me. We love our work. We love our work. And the 4 volumes that we produced, I hope will stand for a long time in terms of what is out there, especially with given the original records. Jeremy, if you would go, I put together a small grouping of pictures that are in the books. If you'd go through some of those, that would be good. Okay, go back one picture, and I'll say go one picture. We finished the 4 volumes, and remember that each book weighs about 8.5 pounds. So we thought, somebody that wants to look up a particular gun at a gun show doesn't want to carry an 8.5 pound book around a gun show to look up something. And it was suggested to us, and we followed through with it and said, we would like it, now that you've done all that, when people want to know all the do's and don'ts of every model gun that was ever made by Sharpes, will you make a collector's guide? And we said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, make it 8.5 by 11. Make it no more than 200 pages, hardcover with beautiful pictures of Ron's in it, and maybe devote 2 pages for each model, not 15 or 20 per model like in the volumes, but 2, whereby on the left side would be beautiful pictures by Ron showing the features, and on the right side would be the information about that model. And so about 2 months ago, we started working on that. So we thought our work was done with 4 volumes, and now we're working on this one, a standalone volume. And so,
Roy, if you weren't working on a book, what would you be doing?
I would have died in
1995.
So, hey, listen, if God brought me back, He did it for a reason. So I'm glad. I don't know what I would do. I really mean that. It was the year 1999, and my wife and I were living in the Bay Area, and she said, Roy, I have an opportunity to take a really good job in Tucson, but I'd like it to be where you can leave your regular job. I was working at that time with an insurance company and on a VP level, and they're doing quite well and enjoying it. But she said, you love your work, but you really enjoy your weekends and your afternoons, your evenings, and all. She said, why don't we change our lifestyle and you do that full time? And that's so when you ask me what would I do, it was my dear wife who passed a few years ago who encouraged me to give up a great paying job for the poverty of working as a historian and an author. And I would never have done that without her permission and her encouragement.
That's amazing.
Oh,
That's
probably
amazing.
heard more than you wanted to hear in that one. Jeremy, if you go to the next couple of pictures, you can put them up for 4, 5, or 6 seconds each. The book not only has the information about each model of gun and how it was made and why. It's festooned really with lots and lots of pictures like these, vintage pictures, usually from the 1860s, 70s, and 70s of soldiers, trappers, sportsmen, target shooters, and all holding sharps. And Ron has put all of those into our book as well. I'm going to say there are hundreds of pictures like the ones that Jeremy is showing you here. Uh, should anyone be interested in acquiring any of the volumes that we have, uh, feel free to look. You can go to either eBay, usually eBay or Abe's Books or Amazon, and just look up Sharpes Firearms by Roy Marcot. And if you're interested, if you want to write to me and email me, I'd be glad to talk to you too. And with that, if anyone out there has any questions, please remember though, only ask a question if you know that I can give you an answer. All right?
Yeah, guys, if you have a question, put it in the comments. Roy's going to hang out with us for a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be with us all night, but we're going to hang on to him as tight as we can for as long as we can, because this is a great opportunity to ask questions of a wonderful historian and firearms enthusiast. Not just Sharpes, but he's very knowledgeable in Remingtons and probably a few other things. So definitely jump in there. I'm going to get into the comments here while we're
So
waiting.
Roy, just to let you know, I am an avid 22 collector, and one of the very first 22s I ever collected many years ago now was a Remington 41P.
Yes, yes.
Very. I still have that one too. I'll never get rid of that one, I don't think.
That's Nibs, that's a very rare model, as you know. You probably haven't seen very many of those ever available.
No.
Yeah.
And mine was missing the front sight, but I was able to find a replacement for it and put it on there. So I got the original peep sight on the back and the front sight with the little inserts on the front.
Yeah.
And I shoot a bullseye league actually every Sunday afternoon. And that was the first gun I ever shot a perfect 30 score with in my bullseye league.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm happy to hear. Nibs, are you aware of the book that I wrote with John G'day on Remington 22 rimfire rifles?
Yeah, I was actually going to comment about that. I actually purchased a soft copy of that about 7 or 8 years ago.
One of the discs or thumb drive?
It was a thumb drive.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I can tell you a little story about that since you have one. The book is out of print for 12, 14 years. But John and I always said we should have squirreled away a couple of cases of those because they're going for like $500.
For what they're going for now.
Oh boy. But you mentioned about the thumb drive. John and I said, well, at least why don't we make a thumb drive of the book of every, as you know, Nibs, of every page of the book, and they're high resolution and all. And on eBay we sold over 200 of those, and then AI with eBay contacted me and said we can no longer allow you to sell those on our site. And I said, well, what the heck? Why? because people really enjoyed. They couldn't get the book, so they could at least see every page of the book. And
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
and here's what they told me. They said, "Well, there's too much opportunity for people selling those to put malware on it and make it, hurt people's computers." And I thought, wait a second, I've got 200 were sold through you with not a complaint. We had 100% satisfaction rate. But remember, we're not dealing with a
Come
person.
on.
I thank you for bringing that up. That we're really proud of what it is, and
I wish somebody would do that with the Winchester book there, the Winchester 52 book.
yeah.
I'd love to find a soft copy of that.
Oh, who was, who was
So the nice thing is I actually loaded it into the files on my phone.
Is that
So
right?
now I have it with me all the time. So
Hey.
whenever I'm out shopping, I can flip through and
Yeah, that's
Thank
handy.
Thank you.
And,
Now, I can't sell by eBay, but if anybody ever got in touch with me and wanted one, as you saw, they were pretty reasonable for.
oh yeah.
And I'd be happy to sell them. I just can't go through eBay, unfortunately.
Sure.
yeah, if somebody's interested in getting a soft copy, email me at joinus@firearmsandfellowship.com, and I'll coordinate that with Roy, and maybe we can set something up, Roy, where we can put it on my page or something, make it easy for people to just click and buy or something like that. We'll figure something out.
I'd be happy to work with you. And I see down
Yeah.
below from Southern Rifle, a 40X in 22 caliber is his favorite. And look at you. Hey,
Yeah, this was a brochure, one of the brochures that you gifted to me, Roy, when we were in Vegas. Really neat old brochure.
Well, 40X was a custom shop gun, so they had really, really talented people who put it together and manufactured it. And I can see why Southern Rifle likes his 40X, because they're tacked right. Absolutely.
That's one of the ones that still eluded me so far as a 40X. I actually have something very special though, a Remington 24 XBR. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Remington 24
XBR.
The 24 was an auto-loading rifle.
No,
so the same one.
No, that's a scope. It's a target scope that was specifically made for the 40X.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, it was only made in 1969.
That's right. They only did that. Why they got out of the business, I don't know. And who made those, we don't know either. We don't know.
Actually, I've done some research, and Remington had those. Remington, they had the glass made, but they actually made the scope themselves.
Ah, okay.
I did some research on that, and I found some pretty good evidence of that. The glass was made.
Yeah, I was going to say it was probably in Japan, I would imagine.
But it's a Nerdle type looking scope with the external rings and everything.
Yes.
And I picked it up from a local shop here. They had gotten it in. It was the actual crosshairs were broken in it, and it was mounted up on top of just a conglomeration of a 243 Winchester target rifle that was just completely ugly. And somebody had come in and actually wanted the rifle, but they said, "I don't want that scope. It's broken. I have a piece of junk." So I ended up buying that scope for $200.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah, I fixed it up.
Available for 1 year, and you never see them at a show. You never see them. Yeah,
I've seen one sell on eBay, and it went for $1,900.
Wow.
Oh, good.
So
I see we have another question.
Yeah, R4 Mississippi Thunder. I have a Remington nylon that was my dad's first gun. I have never shot it. Oh, brother, you got to shoot it.
The nylon came out in 1959, and they had several different variations of the gun. It was interesting because the receiver of the gun is actually sheet metal parts and surrounded by plastic, and how that ever got through BATF, I have no idea. But people that own them and love them, it only weighs a little over 4 pounds, and there are different variations. The most unusual variations, I can put this up for people to know, and we can even do a cast on it, Jeremy, sometime. Uh, 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 the most unusual one that we've seen was in the Remington archives there, and it was a military version, only one, and it's a nylon 22, but it's a military. You look at it and you think it'd be a high-powered gun and all, but what they used it for, we have no idea, because those records, unfortunately, were destroyed. Others we've seen have a nylon white stock, and I learned that those were made up for the local fire department when they were marching in the parades there in Ilion. But there's any number of variations of that nylon, and maybe Jeremy will put something together for people in the near future.
We might have to dig into that. I imagine the military prototype was for a training rifle. They used a lot of 22s as training rifles, and of course that would have been a little bit late for the lend and lease program. But yeah, the nylon. I've never owned one myself. I just haven't ran across the right one yet. But everybody I've talked to that has one, they just absolutely swear by them. They say they're just tough as nails, which is
I had a chance to get a couple of them.
But,
still have yet to get one.
Well, say it again.
Here's a guy that's going to be after my heart. The Remington 522 Speedmaster, 552 Speedmaster. Yep. Wonderful rifle. Eats everything. I mean, shorts, long rifles. Now, what's interesting is I borrowed a buddy's 550 recently, and it would actually shoot the real low. What is it? The Calibres?
CB caps.
Yeah, it would cycle the super light stuff.
Wow.
And I kind of like the 550 a little bit better myself. Just the full stock and. But it's the same mechanism inside.
It was an era with Remington when they truly made fine guns, whether they're making 22s or high powers. The wood, the steel, and it was wonderful. The people that worked for the company, they truly bled Remington green. They loved working there. I remember over the years we would be working not only in the archives but throughout the plant. And you had people that really loved the company. It's a far cry different now, and maybe in the future we can talk about that, Jeremy, about what we know about Remarms or where they've gone, but it's nothing like it used to be.
Yeah. Well, you can see over the years, like especially when DuPont came in, you see this total shift in like how they were thinking about how they were going to make their guns and design their guns. It was you could tell they were thinking more about profit, and not that they didn't make great firearms, in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but there was definitely a shift in how they approached the business.
Yes. DuPont took over in 1933 during the middle of the Depression, when a lot of companies were having trouble making product and other people trying to buy product. And DuPont carried them through the Depression. And DuPont engineers were the ones that carried Remington through World War II. And that's a whole another story of not only the wonderful guns they made, but people may not know that the Remington companies, including the GOCO plants, government-owned contractor-operated plants that Remington ran, they made more than half the small arms ammunition for the Allies during the war. We're talking about everything from 22s up through 20 millimeters. Half of all the ammunition made in the war on our side was made by Remington and Remington plant. It's an incredible undertaking. And then they had good engineers that helped learn from Remington what the guns were, and good engineers that knew how to make the processes better. It was it was the golden era when they took over, and DuPont sold the company in 1993, and when they sold the company went downhill. We'll get into that in the future, Jeremy.
Yeah. TDK Outdoors says I picked up a 41P last year. Good grab, man. Good grab.
I haven't get in touch with Nibs because Nibs wants to buy it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another one I have that's actually quite nice is a first year of production 37, model 37, which is the first, the real first step into high-end 22 target rifles.
Nibs, tell me this. Did yours have a barrel band or not? Do you remember?
It does not, but it has some like angled cuts at the front, and I don't know if that is somebody modifying it or not.
To see it. The very, very few first ones had a barrel band, and they found out that the barrel band actually affected the accuracy by squeezing the barrel onto the wood. And so very soon after, then you must have gotten one of the very early ones after that. Talk about a tack driver. You couldn't get any better than a 30.
Yeah.
I wonder if the barrel band changed the harmonics of the barrel somehow.
Very possible, Jeremy. Yes.
I don't think mine had a barrel band. Let me see if I can find a picture of it.
Okay. Now, if the competitor, I don't remember the model for Winchester, but Winchester had a competitor model with a barrel band, and they stuck with it.
The Model 52. Model 52s definitely have a barrel band.
Yeah.
I have a couple of 52Cs, and early 52 made in 1920.
You talking the Winchester 52?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, mine doesn't have a barrel band.
Pretty sure. I know my 52 pre-aid.
Mine, I guess, is the repro of the B. Was that the sporting model?
The Bs would have had a tensioner band still. They're supposed to.
Yeah, I can't grab it because we're on live, but
right.
Yeah, I actually shot that firearm today in a video. I meant to release it before the show tonight, and I accidentally released it as a premiere tomorrow. So you guys will just have to wait. I'm sorry. Nibs, Chris Lang says he remembers you fixing that scope. So Chris has got a better memory than probably all of us because.
Well, I did a video about it, so it's on my channel. So,
TDK Outdoors, I have a 550-1. So the 550 and the 550-1 are basically the same rifle. The -1 has a single extractor versus two. It does that does not have a scope ring rail grooves on the receiver. I'm wondering if it was an early change over from the 550 line. That's possible that they used some leftover parts, leftover receiver from the 550 when they switched over to the 550-1. Roy, what do you think?
It's possible, but like a lot of things, you have to see it and look at it, and then you can tell by the barrel date code what year it was made. Then we can go back to the records. You can imagine how many models of guns Remington made, especially in the 20th century. And I have people come up to me and they ask me questions like that. I thought, my God, I don't have the best memory anyway, but I'd have to look at my own book sometimes to find out what the answers are.
Okay, Scott Hansen. Roy, what are worth the most on the 22 bullet boxes, 50 count or the bricks? I don't follow that market real close, so I couldn't say.
I think he's asking not which type of bullets, cartridges are the best, but he's asking, is it better in a 50 or a brick? Well, as you might imagine, modern over the last 15, 18 years, if you had bricks of many boxes in a brick, it's not really worth that much more than the cost of each multiple of the boxes. But you start going back in time, and you go back to the 30s or the 20s, or go back to the UMC period. Sometimes it's impossible to find a brick. And I don't know exactly what year bricks came in, but when you get back to the UMC period, UMC was making ammunition prior to being acquired by Hartley, who owned Remington. But you don't see the multiple boxes with UMC. You're lucky to find even one box or single, not multiples in a brick.
Yeah, Scott, clarify what you're talking about there, because I think we understand what you're saying, but yeah, just dial that in a little bit, and we'll do our best to answer what you got there. And JH586 is in the house. Good to see you, brother.
I just sent you a picture there, Jeremy. I don't know if you got it in your email yet.
Yeah, give me just
got a couple of cool Remingtons in it and a couple of competitors.
Okay. You can't throw pictures? I thought you were throwing pictures up last.
Yeah, I only have them on my phone. I don't have them on my computer.
Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can dig those up here. Oh, let me.
I don't think I have it on my computer. Let me see.
Let me get to this one. Chris Lang. Chris Lang's a good friend of the channel. J Delta 22 borrowed a 550-1 and said it had a dovetail for a scope. The boss had one with no option for a scope. Okay. Yeah, that's. I mean, I'd have to go through and look in the book and see if it talks about that. I don't remember. I was reading about it the other day, but my recall is not 100%. It hasn't been 100% since Roy died back in 2015. But those who are just joining the show, before the show, I punched into AI just to type up a summary notes for Roy's career, just so I had them on hand. And the AI had said that he had passed in 2015, and so I told the AI, I said, "Well, I just got off the phone with him."
Did they have AI say "whoops" or what are they saying?
Well, what's funny is the AI kind of argued with me about it for a minute, and I was like, "No, that's the same person. I literally just got off the phone with him. He's still alive, I promise."
Jeremy, let me give you a real quick one here, okay, about AI. I was 6 months ago. I was new to Facebook, okay, and I got on there, and our final volume had just come out. And so I thought, oh, that's great. So I took some pictures up, and on Facebook, I put in exactly where they could go to buy it and how many pages it was and all of that. And within a couple of hours, I got an email from AI, artificial intelligence, and they were saying, we are going to be throwing you off our site completely. And it was news to me. So my response was, why? What did I do wrong? Well, I learned later that if you're going to throw you off, you have one response. And if you don't satisfy them to their computer and do it, I learned later after being off that they thought I was selling firearms because it said Sharpes Firearms. Okay.
Yeah.
I looked it up on the internet. And it said, when you have been thrown off, you're thrown off for good. So I had to go back under a pseudonym name. And what name did I choose? I don't know why I thought of it. I chose the founder of Remington Arms Company, had a biblical name, and he was born in 1793, I think it was. So and his name was Eliphalet Remington II. His father was Eliphalet Remington I. So on Facebook, if you ever see this real handsome guy in there, and it's under Eliphalet Remington II. That's me, Roy Marcot.
But I didn't know that was you on Facebook, Roy, until I don't know 6 months after I had met you. I didn't know that was your Facebook pseudonym name. But real quick, and I want to touch on one thing about that. But yeah, I got dinged on Facebook for putting this old brochure from the 500 series rifles on Facebook. They thought I was trying to sell something. And, it's just Facebook's a hard place to navigate. And yeah. So when Remington started out, they were basically a barrel maker, right, Roy?
Sure.
I mean, they weren't a firearm maker.
For years and years, they fostered the company fostered the incorrect information. And I'll tell you what, even their 1956 company corporate history said. It said a Lieutenant Remington built his rifle there, and he said, and he took it, and it shot so well that on that Sunday after he built his, remember we're talking about an era of flintlock muzzle loading rifles, that he built the rifle and it shot so well that all of his neighbors wanted one, and he was in the rifle business. Wrong, 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 wrong. His father, living there in Litchfield, which is near Ilion, his father had a farm, and on the farm he had a forge, and his father had this. Besides the farming business, he would buy scrap metal, wrought iron, and make up farm implements for his neighbors. Picks and shovels and rakes and things like that. And somehow at that forge, Remington was able to forge a gun barrel. We don't know how, but he did it. And it's really true. In 1816, he forged that barrel. He literally carried it 12 miles over to Utica to a gunsmith there. It could have been Riley Rogers. We don't really know, but it was an expert gunsmith that we believe took that rifle barrel and made a flintlock rifle for him. Okay, that's the truth of the matter. So they say at that point, boy, he was in the gun business. Well, he wasn't in the gun business because he had a small forge, and his small forge was improved on when he moved to near the Erie Canal in 1827 or so. And even then, all those decades, he was making rifle barrels. We think he may have been making pistol barrels, but we've never seen one. But he was making rifle barrels. By the 1850s, early 1850s, he was making and selling up to 10,000 rifle barrels a year. That's incredible. We have those records. We know what it is. But Lieutenant Remington did not start making true firearms until the late 40s, early 50s, when he got two contracts. Both were from the government. One was for a Jenks breech loading carbine, and the other was for a variation of the 41 Mississippi rifle. And he made those for a couple of years and did not get into the commercial business of making civilian firearms until 1856. And then he was off and running, as you know. That's probably more than people want to hear, but that's the long of the story of him and what the company really did for all those decades.
Yeah, that's awesome. TDK Outdoors says follow-up. The barrel dates the 551 mentioned earlier to 1950. It's actually 5 years into its production, 1946 to 1950, without the ring grooves.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. And I want to say, Jim, good to have you in the chat, buddy. Always good to have you out there.
Yep. I got that picture ready if you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah, let me just catch up here real quick.
Sure.
On some of the chat. Schubert 1776. Good evening to you. TDK says correction. Yeah, 46 to 70. Yeah. Yeah, they made the 550 and the 552 concurrently there for quite a while. Southern Rifle says I'm losing chat, but got y'all on the big screen. Oh man, we must be looking sharp tonight, huh?
I used to have all those semi-autos, but I really kind of narrowed my focus to bolt action 22s and pump action 22s.
Yeah.
So I still got a couple.
You've got a problem, Nibs. You had to narrow down somewhere.
Yeah, just no storage room left. But But Roy was talking about a guy that had 500 guns. So
Yeah. Well,
I
there's
don't have
always
a
somebody
problem.
crazier than us, right?
This is
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. 500 Sharps rifles.
yeah.
I mean, you know how much they're going for, and people will pay, $4, $5, $8,000 just for one, and Sony's a lot more. He's got 500 different ones. Oh, boy, yeah. What you got from Scott, Jeremy?
Hey, saying Remington, going back to the ammo conversation, 50 count boxes. Which ones have a high value?
I
Man,
wonder if
there's
he's talking about the
so
collector's box,
yeah, there's
the
so
older
many
box.
of them.
Yes. And
Man,
again, going back in time, the value goes up. In other words, the first of the ammunition was made by Smith and Wesson as early as when the 1857. And you find one of those early boxes. Usually they are black label with white or silver. I mean, those are boxes that go, a single box of shorts goes for two, three, $5,000, depending on its condition, for a single box of ammo. And the empty boxes go for almost that amount. So,
that's
but
unbelievable.
that's the best and the highest. But as you move along, again, almost anything with a UMC, Unimetallic Cartridge Company, or the companies at the time like American Metallic and the other companies of its era, all
Peters.
$100. Uh, Remington did not. Remington made ammunition at their Ilion plant from 1871 until that portion of the plant burned in July of 85. Okay, in those periods, Remington did not make rimfire; they made only centerfire ammunition. You find one of those boxes, and it's high value because they're so rare. They're few bucks ammunition. So then they got out of the ammunition business, but it was Marcellus Hartley and Schuyler Hartley and Graham that owned at that time. They purchased and formed UMC as early as 1865. Okay, and they continued that all the way through. They acquired the assets of Remington in 1888 when they bought the company under out of bankruptcy. Okay, so Marcellus Hartley at that point owned and controlled both the biggest ammunition company and one of the best firearms companies for a while. And it was 1911 when his successor, who was his grandson, Marcellus Hartley Dodge, put the two companies together and literally said, you have separate plants, but the ammo and the firearms, but your salesmen are now going to sell both products. And they combined the two, and that's where Remington Arms Unimetallic Cartridge Company started, later became Remington Arms Company.
Yeah.
That's a short look at that.
I'll just say that anytime I go to a gun show, I just love looking at those old boxes of ammo. There's just so many different colors and variations. And funny funny story, Roy, when we were in Vegas, I actually bought I don't know, 5 or 6 boxes of just some 22 ammo, not thinking that I had to fly home. So
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I ended up having to. I mean, it was like maybe $20 worth of ammo, but yeah, what a knucklehead I am. Jim Ashby, what makes a target rifle different? Is it the weight and sights only? So generally, target rifles will have generally will have a heavier barrel now. Earlier guns will have a normal barrel, but a longer barrel, heavier stock. The early target rifles had peep sights on them, and then later, before scopes were every commonplace, especially in the U.S., they would have had a scope on them. If you guys want to add anything to that, maybe a little bit better trigger, but that's kind of
More precise rifling,
yeah,
more precisely ground chamber,
crown maybe.
much better triggers.
Yeah, Nibs, you have quite a few target rifles, right?
Yeah, you want to put that picture up now?
Okay. Was that a subtle hint?
That's a segue. So this is actually, I actually put a different one up before, but that one was real busy. This one's a little more easier to explain. So that top one is a Winchester 52C that was made in 1961, and it actually is U.S. property marked. And that scope actually dates to about the same time frame. And from my research, that one was probably used by the U.S. Marines as a sniper trainer.
Oh,
So that's got some really cool history to it.
I've
The
never
next,
owned one of those scopes that has the recoil springs on it.
yeah, yeah,
Are you familiar with how that works, or can you add
right.
anything to that?
So it's not very necessary with a 22, but these were also used on like 30-06s and stuff. And if you didn't use that spring to allow the scope to be able to move back and forth a little bit, it would completely destroy the crosshairs in that gun and that scope in a matter of a couple shots. It's very attuned to like a Springer pellet gun now with any scope that you put on there.
Okay.
Um,
Does the
so
scope in the rings, is there like a bushing in there that it slides back and forth in? I mean, it has to
yeah, yeah,
be fairly tight, right?
yeah.
Are they like
It's
a
very
brass
precise.
bushing?
So the one thing that's very interesting is you can take these scopes right off the gun and put it back on there, and it'll be perfectly zeroed still.
Really?
It's amazing how the tolerances those things are machined to.
Wow.
Yeah, the next one down is a Remington 513T. That one was made in 1952, and right now that picture has it with a Fecker scope on it. You gotta make sure you enunciate that properly. But that scope was made in the early 20s. The next one down is that Remington 37 I was talking about, and that one right now has a Nerdle 14X on it. And then the bottom one is actually a Stevens Model 416 with another early 20s Fecker scope on it. And that 416 is actually a U.S. military marked gun as well. And those ones that was made in the 40s and also used as a military trainer for potentially snipers. When they usually had the scopes on them like that, they were used for sniper training because they used these scopes on 30-06s, 1903 Springfields for sniper rifles back in the pre-World War II and World War II era. And actually, even up into the 60s in a lot of cases. That's why that Marine gun at the top is still, even from the early 60s, had that scope on there like that. So
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff.
Just kind of as a side note, I've got a price list from 1968 here, and we'll look at let's say Remington Model 514A
Yeah.
was $26.95.
Single shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah, a Model 40 XB Rangemaster, you're looking at $199. So pricey rifles back then.
Yeah. That probably equates to a couple grand in today's money.
Yeah, probably at least. Wow, because I mean, that's order of magnitude.
I'm gonna stop sharing that one. I want to, if we want to stick up another one, I got another one that's kind of neat.
Yeah, Jim. We hope that helped kind of explain kind of the differences. I'll try to get I've got a couple target rifles here. Maybe I'll get one out and maybe just a basic rifle, so you can kind of see the differences between them. But good question.
I've got the picture open, but it's not letting me share it. I got to reopen it here. Hold on. It's weird how that works. If you share it and then you take it down, it doesn't keep it in the shared.
Yeah.
It doesn't let you put it back into the shared queue without taking it off the screen and then putting it back up again.
While you're doing that, let me pull up a couple things that I was messing around with today. I did a video. We've had wind blowing like 50 miles an hour just constantly for the past week and a half, and I really haven't gotten to shoot much. And so I dug into the safes and I broke out 3 of the hot rods. There on the far left, you have a Winchester 52. That's a reproduction of Moroku out of Japan. Wonderful rifle. On the right side, that's a CZ 455 American. That's a pretty short barreled rifle. I think it's 21 inches. I bought that. A local guy traded that in at the local getting spot, and he had replaced the trigger plate with a metal trigger plate, done a trigger job on it, and man, that's a nice shooting rifle. Really, that was the first CZ I'd ever owned, and I love that thing. It's got a loopholed 4x rimfire special scope on it, so the parallax is set for rimfire, basically 50 yards, 60 yards, and then in the middle is a Anschutz 1422, and that is a rimfire rifle that will ruin you. Once you shoot one of those, it's just there's nothing like it. The bolt runs like absolute butter. The trigger feels like it's wired to your brain. Just a wonderful, wonderful rifle. Those were out of West Germany before the fall of the wall. Excellent.
You know when your 52 was made, Jeremy?
Those were that was the Utah Centennial. I want to say 06, somewhere in that range. They made they made the Winchester version and a Browning version.
Okay.
And I think total they made somewhere around 12,000 reproductions out of Moroku of the 52. That's the Utah Centennial. They made 1,000 of them. So that's one of 1,000. And I'll be honest, it's a well-built rifle. The craftsmanship is outstanding. I've owned several of the Moroku rifles over the years, and they do an excellent job reproducing them.
Yeah.
But man, I'd take that Anschutz over that 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. No question.
Over the past year or so, I picked up a couple of Anschutz.
Nibs, I was going to say, looks like Chris Lang made a mention about your spring on your scopes.
I was gonna comment about that. You have to remember to push it forward. If you don't, the scope will actually ride right off the track. After about 5 or 6 shots, the scope will actually fall right out of the bushing.
Jeremy,
don't ask me how I figured that out.
Jeremy, in a few minutes I've got to leave, but I wanted to mention something, especially the people that like to learn about rimfire. One of my best friends lives up in Montana. His name is Lou Belling, Behling. And when I met Lou 40 years ago, he said that he was working on the history of rimfire ammunition. I swear, every year that I saw him, he would tell me the progress over 40 years he made. Well, sometimes you think people talk like that and they go to their grave and never write about. His book is now 2 books, 2 volumes on American rimfire ammunition. It came out about 3 weeks ago. people don't even know it yet because it's not even been any advertised.
Oh, I got to get that.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And Nibs, you and I can talk back and forth after, but anyone else, if they can contact me, I'll put you on to Lou so that you can order a book before they're all gone. You only made 500 copies, and I think half of them are already gone after a couple of weeks.
Uh-oh.
What the-
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Put me on the list.
if you let your listeners know at some point how they
Yeah.
can get in touch with me, I've been a historian all my life, and it seems, and I love answering questions. But importantly, I'm so old now that all the questions I can't answer, I'm smart enough to know who to go to.
Yeah.
And I'd be glad
Well,
to help you with answers.
like we talked about earlier, if you're interested in getting a soft copy of the Remington 22 book that's no longer
Amazing
available,
book.
reach out to me at joinus@firearmsandfellowship.com. And if you want to get on the list to get the 22 ammo book, get in touch with Roy for that. Just reach out to me. And that way, Roy's not get inundated with emails from people he doesn't know. And we'll set something up. Maybe we can just make it a click deal on the page or something. But
Jeremy,
yeah, that's awesome.
It was my pleasure to join you both tonight. I really enjoyed it, man. And
Roy,
thank you,
thank
Jeremy.
you.
It's great to meet
Thank you
Great
so
to meet
much,
you, Roy.
Roy, for coming on. What a history lesson.
Well-
It's funny. I told a couple other people that they could come on tonight, and they passed up a great opportunity. So we're super glad to have you, and you're welcome here anytime, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you could sign me out, I'll say good night to everyone, Nibs included. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
What a great guy, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
We had just a blast when we were out at Vegas at the Las Vegas Antique Arms Show.
Yeah.
I got to spend a good bit of time talking to Roy, and he's just so knowledgeable and he's so nice. And man, he'll talk your ears off until they bleed about any kind of Remington. You know, anything you ever wanted to know, Roy can tell you. He's just a walking encyclopedia. Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to have him on tonight.
Yeah,
really
definitely,
cool.
Definitely contact him about getting that 22 history book.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're gonna get one, Nibs. I promise you that. We've seen how those books go. Definitely gonna get one of those.
He said it was 2 volumes, right?
Yeah, I think that's what he said. Man, that's wild. That is, that's the thing. If you're interested in Remingtons, I'd really implore you, go join Remington Society of America, because there's guys over there that they know their stuff. And the journals are worth the price of admission. You get 4 of them a year. The membership's $50 first year, $45 each year after. And you get 4 great journals every year. That pays for it right there. But the people that you meet in the society is just outstanding. The relationships I've forged just from being a member of it has been awesome. Let's jump into the comments here, Nibs, real quick, and then we'll kind of touch on a couple things that we wanted to talk about tonight.
Sure. Jim Ashby says he's seen all my long scopes. I've got a couple of videos called Geeking Out to My Scope Collection. I've got a volume 1 and a volume 2.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in seeing those, they're a couple years old, but they're still out there.
Right on. JH586. Those are great old rifles, Nibs. Yeah. Nibs has a great collection. I was thinking the other day, Nibs, I need to get mine out and take one of those big pictures like you got, lay them all out.
It's tough because you gotta find a space.
Yeah. Then you gotta get real high. You gotta get real high so you can get them all in the shot.
That is difficult without getting your nasty looking toes in the shot too.
Right. Yeah. Whiskey Kilmer, dude needs to get a working mic. Yeah, well, that was his first time doing a live stream, so we'll get him set up. Roy's gonna come back, man. He's just, like I say, he's just a wealth of knowledge, and he's so giving of his time. So we'll have him back on, and we'll get him. I'll send him a mic. We'll get him mic'd up. Jim says, "Thank you, boy."
Robin asked if I have James House's books. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. What are they on? I may have. I've got a bunch of books. I mean, that whole shelf right there is all mainly 22 books. So
yeah, a lot of thanks going out for Roy being on the live stream tonight. And yeah, I really did. There was a couple guys, Nibs, you and I talked about it before the show. There was a couple guys that I told would be a really good night for them to come on, and it's unfortunate that they didn't. But,
yeah, the one guy that you had mentioned to me, I was hoping he'd come on.
Yeah, I did. I was too. I think he would have.
Yeah,
he's probably going to kick himself for not coming on. But.
We've done a couple of kind of collaborations together. I fixed a pellet gun for him last year, a couple years ago. That was fun. So
yeah,
he lives down in the city there. Not too far away from me, but
CO2 pistols and rifles.
No, I'm not familiar with that one, Robin.
You said you picked up a couple knives. What do you got going on?
Yeah, so the first one I got here is a.
She says that James House is CO2 pistols and rifles.
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up. I'm not familiar with it, but so the first one is this little tiny penknife, really neat little 2-blade penknife. And this one was made by Iroquois Company, which is a subsidiary of Utica Cutlery Company, which is another local New York company, less than an hour from me. But that one's in really nice shape. And best I can tell, this one was made in probably 1931.
Okay.
So that was one. And then I've got this one, which is just fun. It's a hobo knife. And it's got a spoon.
Nibs.
Yeah.
This was my very first knife. Very first knife. What?
Look how tiny these utensils are on this thing.
Yeah.
Just
That's
tiny.
so funny. Whose is yours made by? I'll have to look.
Colonial.
Yeah, Colonial. Yep, that's it. That's funny. Yeah, pretty cool little knives.
Yeah, and then I got one more. So this is it actually came with a sheath, but you see the emblem right there?
Yeah, Boy Scouts.
Yeah. So this is probably 1960s, 1970s vintage Camillus. It's not a locking knife. It's just a spring, but
really?
it still has the original leather lanyard.
Wow.
And let me see here. So
is that a bone handle, or is it a?
I think it's faux stag handle.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's made with Delrin, but it is a Camillus.
Yeah, that's nice. It's
in
good shape.
And the tang stamp dates it from 1960 to about the mid 70s. Okay. It's got excellent snap.
Yeah.
So
you can hear it.
That was part of today's mail call. So really cool. So those are the 3 newest ones I just got. So
I love picking up old knives like that. We're at flea markets and pawn shops like that.
I'm getting quite the collection though. I've got one of the little collectors.
Yeah. Open that up. You showed us that. Was it last week or the week before?
Yeah, let's see if I can.
Chris Lang says, "I wish I had my Boy Scout knife." Yeah. That's one thing I can say. I've got my first knife and I've got my first rifle.
So Camillus made another model of this. It looked exactly like this, but it had a little slide lock on the inside the scale.
Okay.
It would actually you'd flip it open and then you'd be able to slide that forward and it would lock the blade. And I had one of those when I was in Boy Scouts back in the 70s or 80s.
18.
But so let's see here. So these are all Camillus knives here.
Wow. Yeah. Every once in a while at the local getting spot here, people will bring in cases just like that,
Yeah.
Maybe somebody passed away or whatever. And there's all kinds of
non-Camillus stuff.
Yeah.
And more modern stuff.
What's your everyday carry, Nibs? What do you carry in your pocket?
Well, right now, I've been carrying this Ozark Trail.
Oh yeah,
I had been carrying the orange version, but I found this green version. It's the same as the orange one, just with different color scales.
Are those allowed up there?
It's not spring assist.
Okay. As fast as it opened, I thought, oh, man.
Yeah, no, it's just really nice action on it.
Yeah, it is.
But so I got that, and I carry a buck knife on and off too. So I got a buck 110.
Yeah, I don't have mine on me right now. I've been carrying the Victorinox Locksmith. It's no longer in production. It's a unique knife because it's got a locking blade on it, a big file, and a big wood saw, and then of course cap lifter and bottle lifter and all that stuff.
So here's another one that I had carried for quite a while, but I've kind of put it in retirement and put it in my collection. And this is another Camillus from the probably early mid 70s. And this is a Model 4. And that one's a lockback. It's basically the exact same knife as this other one, the BSA one I just showed you. But it's got the lockback in the back instead of just being a spring hold open. But that one's a nice one.
I'll tell you, let me grab this one. This one got the front back. This is the knife that I carried probably, well, I know I carried this more than any other knife ever. And the Gerber Easy Out. It doesn't look like much now, but when it came out, it was kind of a big deal, and
right.
Just tough as nails. Man, I don't know how many years I carried this thing, but old Gerber Easy Out.
So here's a brand new one of those.
I've been seeing those. I've been
for
seeing
$10. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah,
and
how thick is that blade?
How big?
How thick is it?
Thick?
Is it a real thin blade? Okay.
Not really. I mean, it's pretty sturdy. You're gonna have a hard time bending it.
I wonder what kind of steel they make those out of.
You say it's D2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
actually, it says right on the blade D2.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen a lot of guys been buying those things up because they're so cheap. I mean,
$10.
Or so inexpensive, I should say.
Are you familiar with the Cumberland Outdoorsman?
Yeah.
Channel. That's where I first learned about these. He did hit a real big, actually several videos with these, and he had the orange ones to start off with, and he's actually found these ones too. And they actually, they're out in the garage, but they have this in a black scale as well. But they're impossible to find. You got to buy them off the scalpers off of eBay.
I think they must have sent a bunch of those out to YouTubers and and influencers and
They
stuff.
didn't send none to me.
Yeah, me neither, brother. Me neither. Chris says, I've been carrying a Hogue automatic knife and now don't want anything else. Okay. What kind of blades on there, Chris? Is it just a straight blade, serrated? And
So I was on the
Chris
Hillbilly
says,
Up live stream.
he says, I
On
thought
Saturday.
Kentucky Gunfire bought them all. Yeah. He's got a few of them. He'd be giving them away.
I was on the Hillbilly Up live stream Saturday night, and we did a big giveaway for Hasbro Channel's St. Patrick's Day Challenge, and I won a Kershaw knife. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that looks like a really nice knife.
Yeah. That was a neat deal they did for the flood people in Kentucky. I got to take part in that and donate a few things, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah,
got up to almost $4,000.
Yeah, really good deal. Great way to help people out. So, are they still gathering money for that? Is there still a?
I think the GoFundMe is still active.
Okay.
I just looked at it the other day, just before we did the Saturday live stream, and it was active then. So,
yeah, good deal.
Yeah.
So
I know there was other people that donated that didn't go onto the GoFundMe too. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they between all of those, they definitely made it over 4,000 because it was like 39.75 just on the GoFundMe. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I shot these 3 today, and actually had the wife out. She wanted to do a little shooting today, so she shot all 3 of them, and that was interesting because I wanted to.
Whoops! Where'd you go? Ruh-roh.
Yep.
Oh.
I hit the wrong button, I guess. But yeah, she shot all 3 of them, and it was interesting to get her feedback on them. She liked the Anschutz the best, which, I mean, who wouldn't? And then she actually liked the trigger better on the Winchester, but she liked shooting the CZ better. I think that had something to do with the scope that was on it. I've got
What kind of ammo does your Anschutz like?
It shoots pretty good with the Ely club. The Winchester didn't seem to care for it. The CZ shot it pretty well. I hadn't shot a rifle in probably 2 weeks, so some of that could have been me as well. But yeah, everything I've fed through that Anschutz, it does pretty well. Yeah. And the CZ too. I've been super impressed with that CZ. The guy that traded it in, the only reason he traded it in was because he wanted one with a suppressor on it.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to thread that barrel. And
now, did you say that was what model for CZ was that?
That's the American. I think they call it the
Is
American.
It a 455?
455
Okay.
American.
Okay.
So what happens when you thread a barrel, there's tension in a barrel, and sometimes when you thread it, it can throw things off. And he didn't want to mess that rifle up, so
I've got 2 452s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the difference. I'm not real informed about CZs. I'm not sure what the difference between the 452 and the 455 and 457 is.
Yeah, I think it's just the newer model is all.
Yeah, you gotta. They get a little stale. They got to put a new number on there, maybe.
Yeah,
but I like it. I've been super impressed with it. Actually, I think I need to stiffen the trigger up just a little bit. I mean, it's you just think about it.
over the winter, I picked up an Anschutz Model 54, which is a 1407 model number. And the winter's just been so horrible. I haven't had a real chance to get it out and even do any real good shaking down of it. I did a couple of challenge targets with it early on in the winter, and since then it just haven't had. Literally, it was like almost halfway through December through January, I wasn't able to get to the range at all. So
yeah, I need to get in on some of those challenges with you guys. Seems like I've always got other stuff I got to do. And
so there's one that Long Rifle just put up. It's actually a picture of the operation game.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know if you know Elijah there at Day at the Range. He had some operation, and I don't know what it was about, but he's recuperating from that. So he hasn't been able to get to the range. So everybody's posting up videos telling him, get better and all that. Well, Mike came up with this thing, and it says sick bay commando at the top. And then it's the operation guy, and you got to shoot it at all the little, the bread box and the funny bone and all that stuff. And you get your score from shooting all the little targets on the operation guy.
Yeah.
But
I pray he's doing well. He was the one that he sent an email to me a while back asking me to join him on the games, and just haven't had a chance to yet. But we'll get into that.
So if you get into any of his when he gets back onto it, any of his challenges, he'll put you on an email list that he has, and then when he posts up new challenges, you'll kind of get a forewarning about it, and he'll send you the target early so you can play around with it and stuff. Okay. So if you join in on one of his challenges, then you'll be on his mailing list, and he'll send you the information. So do that.
I need to reach out to him again. It's I've been thinking about it. I watch you guys do them, Yeah.
Well, I said that just to say that he has sent out a couple of emails to people on that, secret email list that saying he's doing good, he's healing, he'll be back soon. So just doctor's orders said stay away from the range for a couple of weeks or months or whatever.
Yeah. Marshmut says all you had to do was swap barrels on 455 or 457. Not the case with the 452. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what the arrangement is on that 455, but you can swap the barrels. You can go to the 17 as well. And can you go to the 22 mag? No, you can't go to the 22 mag. You can go to the 17 on it. We'll get a couple more in here. I think we're bucking up on a couple hours here.
Yeah, I got to get going to bed pretty soon. But
yeah,
you want to throw that picture up I got there?
Yeah, I don't know what I must be getting to be an old man because man, I've been waking up like before the roosters. And
I'm up at 4:30 every morning.
Yeah, I've been waking up 3:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'll start dragging.
So this guy is, I think everyone that was in that other picture is also here, but there's a few others here that I didn't have on the other one. So the second one down is my Winchester 52 Pre-A, which was made in March of 1920. Actually, March 29th, if the records in the Winchester 52 book are correct. It was made March 29th of 1920. So the top one is that 530 Winchester Model C that was the military sniper rifle. The next one down is the 513, and then 52. And that's the fourth one down is a Winchester 75. With a Winchester model branded scope on it, which is really pretty cool. It's like a little 6X Winchester branded scope. Then the Model 37, 513. No, the next one down's another 52C. And then that was 416, the Stevens 416 on the bottom there.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
really cool stuff.
yeah, for sure. Chris Lang says that looks like a really fun target. Talking about the operation deal. Yeah, that sounds like a neat one.
I had some printed out, and I was going to do it last night, and I got over to the range, and there was already some guys on our longer range, so I couldn't shoot it. I shot some air gun videos at the 25-yard range, but I wanted to do it last night, but just couldn't get in there. But
I've got some that look like a dartboard, and those are kind of fun. Go out and play darts with the 22. Get a few more in here. Jim Ashby, I love my CO2 shooting in the basement in the wintertime. Yeah, Nibs kind of turned me on to that idea that I could take an air gun. And Nibs, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. I actually have a couple air guns that I totally forgot about. So I'm going to have to get those out and make a video on them. They're nothing special. I think one of them doesn't even have a brand on it, but it'll be fun to get them out and shoot anyway. Yeah. Marshmutt says CZ makes 17 HMR, 22 long rifle, and 22 mag. Okay. They need to make the 17 HM2 as well. I think we were talking about that maybe last week. The 17 HM2 is a 22 mag neck down. Is that right?
No, it's a 22 long rifle neck down.
Okay, 22 long rifle neck down.
They also called it Mach 17 Mach 2 or something like that.
Okay.
The HMR is a 22 mag neck down. The HM2 is a long rifle neck down.
Okay.
And they also made a 17 WSM, which was a 27 caliber rifle. Or not rifle, 27 nail gun blank that had been necked down to 17 HMR. And I had one that was not very accurate. I don't know. My 17 HMR is so much more accurate than that. I ended up selling that one. And the WSM ammo is like twice as much as the 17 HMR ammo. So
I'd imagine that has a lot to do with the twist rate of the barrel, and
it very well could be. And I never cronied it, but it sure didn't seem like it was very much faster than the 17 HMR either. So,
TDK Outdoors. Good evening, fellas. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, man, what a great night. Fun to have Roy Marcot on. Just a wealth of knowledge, and always fun to talk to him. And Nibs, it's always fun to talk to you, buddy. And
that's that's a lot of work that he put into that.
Oh man,
a lot of years.
Decades of just tons of research. And when we were talking about the research project, like all the stuff, all those papers that they collected, he has. Like piles and piles and piles of papers. Well, now, so what he would do, and he didn't get into this because of time, but I just want to say real quickly, all those feet of reams of paper, he went through and meticulously organized and filed by, type and rifle and all those things. And now what they're doing is they're taking all those and they're scanning them and they're turning them into PDF files so that they can be put on the internet for RSA members for free. Everybody. And everybody else, if somebody's doing a book project or something like that, they can reach out to RSA and work a deal with them. But all that stuff, over the years, he has cataloged, and now it's going to be put up on the internet. And just
That's right. I have to assume that Roy and George are probably pretty good friends.
Oh yeah. They've known each other for a while, and it's a good group of people over there.
Yeah.
Like I say, one of the best parts about being part of RSA is, you can go to the groups and meet people, and man, they're just so nice and willing to share their knowledge, and that's a great thing.
I've
Jim,
looked it up a couple of times. I haven't signed up yet, though, but I got to get
oh, we gotta
everything
get you on over there. As many Remingtons as you got, man. You'd like the journals. I mean, that, like I say, that's worth the price of admission. Jim says, thanks, guys. I'm getting tired too. Robin, Chris, 2A, catch y'all later. I think we should call it a night. Thank you so much for joining us. We have this every Monday night at 7:15. We also have a fellowship. If you're into that, we invite you to join us for a fellowship on Thursday night at 7:15. We'd love to have you there. We thank everybody for joining us tonight. God bless you and your families. And thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you next time.
Good night.